And now, stand-up community subscribers and listeners from around the globe, it's time to Stand Up with Pete Dominic, where we ask the important questions that impact you, your family, and your community. Such as, would my supervisor at my glorified clerical job be impressed if I lift this heavy office printer with little residual back pain? And with a new study once again showing the effectiveness of COVID vaccines, is it past time for fashion trends to make way for the chin diaper? And now, the podcast host who would never allow a nose diaper to cover up his smooth, sexy beard, Pete Dominic!
That is right, Pico. It's good to be back. Happy Monday. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy day after the Super Bowl. I am back, and I am very happy to be talking to you here from the solar-powered shed here in Rockland County, New York, just past the midpoint of February, I guess. Or maybe, no, directly at the midpoint. We are mid-February. It is February 14th. It's Valentine's Day. There's a lot to say. I've got two excellent guests joining me today, and I'm very happy that both of them are going to be heard because these two guests are both really special friends to me in my life, and I've known Vicky Body Robinson for I don't know how many years, several years, because she's been listening to this show almost every day for several years. And the podcast as well. She has been such a supportive, wonderful friend and an integral part of our community, as many of you have gotten to know her on the Hangouts, as have I got to know her better. Her hilarious wit, her wonderful singing at times early on got us through some great moments, and her friendship and thoughtfulness. I'm so glad you all get to hear about her life. And I'm excited to showcase and spotlight more listeners and subscribers as we all journey through our lives together, helping. She really helps to build a kind of sense of resilience, a sense of perspective on life, a practice. Each one of you is living your lives in different ways, and I have learned and been so enriched from so many of you. And so I'm going to make more of an effort to share you with everybody else if you would like. Vicky gets very vulnerable and honest, and it's so thoughtful. And as we become more honest, because we grow older together, as we become more wiser as a result of that honesty, it's important to admit that we all struggle. I try to be as transparent as I can here with you because it helps me, and I know it helps so many of you to hear about my own stuff, and I've learned so much about how to navigate life and handle it, especially the similar and collective experiences that we're all dealing with, the common experiences from the pandemic to your finances to aging to health to concerns about other existential threats and democracy. We're here to help each other and grow together, and that's become a big part of this show and certainly this community. And nobody exemplifies that, I think, more than Vicky. And you're all about to learn that for sure on today's Stand Up. I think you're really going to like that. Also, Maura Quint is joining me as she does every Monday. We pretend like we watched the Super Bowl already. We talked about Valentine's Day and much, much more, as we always do. And always a hilarious and brilliant conversation with Maura. I don't have time to grab the audio. It seems like a waste of my time to pull it because I'm doing it on Monday morning after the Super Bowl, but I do have a whole bunch of headlines for you. About to play them. Just want to say thank you for granting me the time off. I'll get back to the regularly scheduled formatted show tomorrow, and I've got some exciting new ideas for the show that'll be coming up in the next few weeks. A lot going on in my life, personally, professionally, in my activism locally, trying to work with my school district, my daughter's school district where I live, to engender and have better diversity, equity, and inclusive initiatives in the school as we fight racism here and everywhere across the country. Racism, sexism, homophobia, anti-Semitism, whatever you want to call it. We want to create more cultural diversity, more cultural understanding, and certainly we want to protect those who are most discriminated against, marginalized, or even actually in danger. And so I'm continuing to do that in my local community. I hope that you are getting interested, engaged in your local community, in school board elections and everything else. Again, doesn't mean you have to go write a letter to the editor or make a comment on a microphone. Even if you meet and support people on Zooms and at meetings, you can send money to get people on the board. All of that works a lot. So I hope that you're involved locally if you're having these same issues as we are. But let's get to some of the headlines. Also, shout out to longtime listener Carrie Williams. Had an awesome time skiing with him at Windham Mountain on last Thursday. We went up together. It was a beautiful day. He's an amazing snowboarder who is pretty much gone all over the world, from Alaska in a helicopter. He skied in Japan. Just a great hang and an awesome, awesome, relaxing day racing down the side of a mountain with Carrie. And look forward to do it again with you, brother, and so many of the rest of you. Anybody who skis or snowboards who's in this community, at some point I'm going to put together an amazing trip, and I hope to hang out with you all there. All right. Let's get to those headlines for February 14th, 2022. These headlines are brought to you by you, folks. No ads today, no reads. Want to welcome new subscribers and remind you, I cannot do this show without your paid subscription. So if you haven't signed up, please do go to standupwithpete.com. Thank you, Mary Miller, who just signed up. Hello to Paul Venta. Welcome to Tim McLean. Welcome to Thomas Reese. Jennifer Dunn. A guy who goes by Dan Marino. Is that right? Sandra Walton. My old friend Brian Ives, who I worked with at SiriusXM. Brian, so great to have you listening, and thank you so much for your support. Thank you for the huge raise from Addison and Brian. Welcome to Ivory Hoffman and Shannon White, and I think I've probably read most of the other recent subscribers, new subscribers. Daniel Stern, Asia Rubiz. Hi, Asia. Hello to Sharon Lamont. Have I read your name? Welcome to all of you guys. It's so amazing to have you in this community. I cannot do the show without you. Please tell your friends. Ramping up for some big promotional initiatives, using video on the show, and looking for folks who work in any kind of video editing, animation, graphics. Reach out to me, standupwithpete@gmail.com. Many of you already have, and I'm really excited to hear your ideas. But let's get started on that news I keep threatening to do, with a brand new news dump jingle from Pete Co. dedicated to right-wing lunatic Charlie Kirk's outrage at last night's Super Bowl halftime show, calling it sexual anarchy. Wait, were we watching the same show?
Charlie Kirk is tweeting women dancing, hating chump. He seems sexually repressed for today's news dump.
Where you live in sexual anarchy.
There you go. Yeah, did you watch it? Did you like the halftime show? We watched the halftime show. I thought it was really great as a 46-year-old man. Those are some of the first hip-hop artists I became a fan of. Obviously, Snoop and Eminem, Dr. Dre, Mary J. Blige. But I suppose it's not for everybody. I mean, I texted my mom last night, my parents, I said, did you see that halftime show? My dad said, I don't understand what that was. My mom said, I didn't care for it, only because I'm not into rap. The dancers were very good then. And then my dad said something about Billy Hinch is rolling over in his grave. I guess my dad's more of a Beach Boys guy. Anyway, family not known for its musical appreciation, but I think it got rave reviews across the board for people who actually care about such things. All right, well, now on to more important issues. Lots to talk about on the news dump. Just going to read some headlines. You can look into these stories, but this is what I caught in my many different intake feeds, troughs of news I have pouring into my brain and computer. As we start another week here, President Biden expected to announce the Supreme Court nominee this week. U.S. officials continue to warn of an imminent invasion of Ukraine by Russia, although Ukrainian officials seemingly giving a different message. And the Olympics are over February 20th, so that's a date people are watching as to when an invasion could still likely occur. Lots of headlines about that. The Ambassador Bridge connecting Michigan and Ontario reopened late last night after days of havoc caused truckers protesting against vaccine mandates. And now apparently they are encouraging, I heard on Fox News, they're encouraging these kinds of, freedom convoys, truckers to do more of this here in the U.S. So that should be exciting. It should be an exciting potential future with those types of protests happening. I saw and thought this was an important headline from the New York Times. More than 100,000 Americans died from drug overdoses in the year-long period ending in April, according to government researchers, up almost 30% from the 78,000 deaths in the prior year. Figure marks the first time the number of overdose deaths in the United States has exceeded 100,000 a year, more than the toll of car crashes and gun fatalities combined. Overdose deaths have more than doubled since 2015. I thought that was a really important headline. There is lots being done to combat that, especially if the overdose is related to opioids that could be treated with naloxone, this drug that can obviously revive people who have overdosed. You probably heard all about it, but a frightening increase in overdose deaths in this country. I'm definitely going to reach out to someone to talk about where we're at with this issue on the program this week. This is the kind of thing, obviously, that everybody wants to understand. I think this opioid drug overdoses affect people of all different socioeconomics, ethnicities, across the spectrum. Obviously, huge problem in this country. All right, moving on. The president will speak at the National Association of Counties 2022 legislative conference. That sounds like a riot. I wonder who the opening act is. Then Thursday, the president will head to Cleveland and Lorain, Ohio, where he's going to probably roll out some jokes about the Bengals and sad that they lost. But he'll be out there touting the bipartisan infrastructure law. Give you an update on the president's plans this week. And the United States planning to pull out all personnel from Kiev within the next 24 to 48 hours, according to CBS. The Associated Press says this is a crucial week in the region. Even if a Russia invasion of Ukraine doesn't happen in the next few days, the crisis is reaching a critical inflection point, with European stability and the future of East-West relations hanging in the balance. The vice president headed to an international security conference in Munich next weekend. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, top European officials also planning to be there. The German chancellor, who is the head of Germany, is headed to Ukraine today and Moscow on Tuesday. So that could be a really important time and development. And a group of experts, including, I thought this was interesting, a former Ukrainian defense minister, are taking a different tack from some of the more dire warnings. They're saying at present, the accumulated forces on the border are insufficient for a large-scale operation aimed at capturing all or a significant part of Ukraine. And they say they're more likely are aggravation in eastern Ukraine and scenarios of various kinds of hybrid invasion without a military component. This written in the Kyiv Independent from the Center for Defense Strategies. I wonder who placed this article there, but look into that if you want. I think it's important to get a Ukrainian point of view, but who knows who's behind that point of view. All right, just a few more stories for your news dump, and then we'll get to the excellent interviews. Two great guests on today's show. U.S. speed skater Erin Jackson made history in Beijing because her victory in the 500-meter sprint makes her the first black woman to win a gold medal in her sport, according to the Washington Post. I'm sure Jay Alcovan will have a great video from former disgraced President Donald Trump on what he thinks about that. I thought this was good news. Senator Ben Ray Lujan, or is it Lujan? I always get it right, said Sunday that he's going to return to the Senate in time to vote for President Biden's Supreme Court. He, of course, suffered a stroke earlier this month, but he has tweeted he's back. So that's very good news for him and obviously for the country, in my opinion. The U.S. has suspended avocado imports from Mexico after a threat to the inspector. Wait, what is this headline? U.S. authorities made the decision after one of their officials who was carrying out inspections in Mexico received a threatening message on his cell phone, according to Mexico's agricultural department. The statement added that imports were suspended until further notice. Well, that, I think, is going to make avocados and guacamole, the price go up. Uh-oh, not a good story. Watch out. And this sad news because celebrated producer, director Ivan Reitman, who of course is behind Ghostbusters, passed away. Also Animal House and so much more. Died peacefully in his sleep, apparently, Saturday night at his home in California, according to the Associated Press. And finally, folks, I just want to read something to you here at the end of this different kind of show opening or news dump, and that is from Charles Blow of the New York Times, the op-ed columnist at the New York Times, who writes always, I think, important and pretty provocative stuff. I'm always glad that his voice is out there. But this headline of his opinion piece really caught me. It was, "There will be no post-COVID." That's the name of the headline, and it kind of shook me a little bit. And I just wanted to read because I thought this was poignant. The end of his piece, I highly recommend that you read all of it. But to end the news dump, I thought this is interesting to give perspective. Charles Blow writes, in a Monmouth University poll last month, 70% of Americans agreed with the statement, quote, "It's time we accept that COVID is here to stay and we just need to get on with our lives." And I should probably mention that with the Omicron wave receding, this is me now, not Charles Blow, many places starting to remove at least some of their remaining pandemic restrictions. And the New York Times says that shift could have large benefits in terms of reducing the isolation and disruption that contributed to a long list of societal ills like rising mental health problems, drug overdoses, and violent crime. But the removal of these restrictions, they write, also has downsides, too. Millions of Americans remain vulnerable to COVID. The largest group of the vulnerable, by far, the unvaccinated who have the ability to protect themselves and have chosen not to. Another group of people, however, have done what they can to stay healthy by getting vaccinated, but still remain vulnerable, including the elderly, people with immunodeficiencies that put them at a greater COVID risk. And back to Charles Blow writing, there will be no post-COVID. He says, in the early part of the pandemic, when some Republican governors were following Trump's lead, politicizing the virus by bucking CDC recommendations, many Democrats held a line and committed to following the science. But now, many of them seem to be buckling as well, lifting mask mandates against CDC recommendations. The urge, both political and social, to simply, quote, get on with it is incredibly strong. The number of lives taken by COVID in this country alone, north of 900,000, is almost unfathomable. But somehow, the public has absorbed and reckoned with it in some way. We have taken on a Darwinian sensibility about it all, accepting it as a sudden thinning of a herd, a form of natural selection. It's both sad and stunning. COVID has made us reconsider everything. The meaning of home and work, the value of public space, the magnitude and immediacy of death, what it truly means to be a member of a society. We're still finding the answers to those questions, but the America we knew ended in 2019. This is a new one, scarred, struggling to its feet, dogged by moral and philosophical questions that on one hand revealed its cruelty and on the other have forced it into metamorphosis. Oh, so good. Charles Blow. Really thought that really hit me, and so I thought it would probably hit you. That's how I basically edit the show. Something impacts me, then I think it'll impact you. And I am sure both of my conversations with both of my guests will do just that. Especially Vicky Body Robinson, who takes us on a journey for an hour through her life coming up. She is such a valued member of our community, and this is a special day. I'm really excited to share that conversation with you. And when I said especially, I didn't mean to minimize or marginalize our good friend, Maura Quint, who's absolutely brilliant and joins me every week here on the show, almost every week. We try to do it. We tape Sundays and air the show on Post It for Mondays. Kerry Williams said he loves starting the week with Maura and ending it with Kristen Finnegan and Ophira Eisenberg, which is great because I do too. So, of course, you know Maura, but if you don't, she's the founder of the Tax March, taxmarch.org. She's now serving as the campaign director for Americans for Tax Fairness.org's Wealth Tax Initiative. And she is also a hilarious writer, a brilliant thinker, and now the co-host of a new podcast that she's doing every week or so. It's called My So-Called Book Club Podcast. where she and her co-host take a look at a book from the 80s and 90s that they grew up with, and you can join them. Check it out. Maura, of course, always awesome on Twitter at Behind Your Back. It never gets old that you remind her that you love her here on the show. Please do that. Here it is, my latest conversation with Maura Quint, and an amazing opening jingle by Pete Coe, of course.
When sunrise gives you a side ache, it's Maura Mondays.
Maura Quint is here. Maura Monday, Super Bowl, Valentine's Day. Tons to talk about and make fun of. And I'm so glad you're here to do it with me. Hi.
Hi. I'm so glad to be here. There's so much. It's too much celebration, honestly.
First of all, let's just real quick talk about last night's game. What a game. Those commercials were something. And
amazing. The way that the one football team played the other one.
Yes.
That was, I mean, like, because they were both doing the throwing and catching.
A lot of that.
Shocking.
A lot of not catching too, huh, Maura? That's a lot of. Also, what did you think of that controversial Super Bowl show?
Well, I frankly never thought that they should do an all nude Blue Man Group, but they apparently thought that was the way to go with it. And
they're really.
It was a lot of blue wang. A lot of blue wang.
They're trying to take the focus off how racist they are against black people by just doing fully nude blue people. Some kind of psychological mind screwing, I think, is really what it is.
Definitely. Absolutely. The Avatar porn was just a little bit off the deep end to me, but you know.
Avatar porn are not two words I've heard together, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't aroused in a weird way about that movie. Okay.
I'm sure you type that into Google and it exists. No problem.
So you obviously we're back selling, but you had a Super Bowl party. You do a traditional Super Bowl party, and I don't love the Super Bowl party because I kind of like to watch the game more than talk with people I haven't seen in a while.
Oh, interesting. I should say, I'd rather hang out with those people and talk to them than watch football any day of the week. But if the game is on, I do kind of watch it. I always watch it. But kind of watch it and like, you know, intent focus watch it. I mean, isn't kind of watch it? Aren't you like, you know, chatting? Like there's lots of commercials or whatever. You're getting excited. You're getting bored. There's people around to interact. Like, I assume you're not discussing Kant. Like you're not breaking up poetry and being like, let's discuss the couplet here at the end of the sonnet.
No, but someone is talking about their kid or their life or something. I'm like, here comes Maura. I just want to watch the game.
Listen to about my kid and my life. It's wonderful. You should hear all about it.
You know what I mean, though? Is that I don't want to be
just like,
I don't want to be rude.
Artichoke tip and like, hey, did you try the wings? Like, what deep conversations are happening at your Super Bowl parties? Maybe you're going to the wrong Super Bowl party.
I'm saying, am I trying to get? I guess I'm trying too hard. I guess I'm trying too hard to accommodate others because I don't really have much to say. I just want to catch up with people I haven't seen in a while. You know what? The truth is, I haven't been invited to a Super Bowl party in 10 years, so I have no idea. Yeah,
so you're justifying why they're bad so that you don't have to feel bad about never going to them. I get that. I do that all the time. Like with, you know, love and things. It's just like, that's bad. And then I don't have to feel bad for not having
partnership and thoughtful, sustained relationships. And
yeah. It's all bad. No one should do that.
Starting with yourself, starting with loving yourself.
Oh, God, that's the worst. No, you should hate yourself. That's the way. That's the natural course of things. You should see yourself in the mirror and go, well, that sucks. No. That's how you should start every day.
Well, listen, I can understand how some people do that. But, you know, as you know, given my bone structure.
No, I know. How could you? You're the rarity, though. We can't all be you, Pete. Some of us have to just be us. I usually look at in the mirror and I wonder if I would be considered by most people like a full-grown man. Like some people, yeah, like I think young people, but like I think I have my hands might be a little small or I'm just short-ish and people be like, I don't know if he's really all the way a man, full man. But I think you're probably a grown-up. Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, like, or you're a baby. You don't have hair, so there's not an in-between there. That's what I'm saying. It's confusing. You're either an absolute baby or a full grown-up. No one's going to be like, he's about 5, 8. I don't know. It's confusing. And now that I'm shaving all of my body hair but my eyebrows, it's real. And I'm going to paint myself blue for next year's show. It's really confusing for people. Let's talk, though, about Super Bowl because you have the party, you do the thing. And so what's the plan? Do you like it? And is it a fun event? to hang out with people and watch the game like that? Do you enjoy it?
No, I hate people, but I like cooking. And I like junk food.
Right.
So, like it's a weird thing. If you're just like, oh, I'm going to have 2 Strombolis and like a whole make your own taco bar and like a giant bowl of chips and guac and like liters of booze. People look at you funny if you're the only one consuming that. But if you surround yourself with other people, they're like, oh, that's normal. And that's it. The people are just filler to make it acceptable for me to sit in a room with like massive amounts of food and alcohol.
What are your needs in terms of their reaction to your cooking? When someone eats something that you've spent a lot of time making, do you expect a comment? And if you don't get it, do you get a little resentful? Do you ask for it? Hey, how do you like the bean dip?
No, I don't expect a comment. I mean, I expect them to fall to their knees and praise me, of course. But you don't need a comment alongside that. That's enough as long as you're fully genuflecting.
What if a guy you didn't really know that well was at the party and he was like, who made this bean dip? And then you're like, oh, I made that. Do you like it? He's like, yeah. And he came over and he gave you like a light neck massage while he was telling you about it. I think that'd be weird, right?
That would be weird. Pete, I think I understand why you haven't been invited to a Super Bowl party in a while.
I thought her neck hurt the whole time. It was good bean dip, and that's my story. And that's probably why, yes, I got touchy with a lady over the bean dip. And
as one does, frankly. I mean, what's more erotic than bean dip? You can't help it.
Just don't know where the lines are at these parties.
No, the lines are made into little triangles.
Speaking of which, remember when did you have the one guy, at least I can think of his full name, that would come to your parents' adult social parties and do a kiss on the lips with the female ladies?
I don't know. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. Because, I was kind of usually hiding out doing something
I wasn't
else,
really paying attention either until a guy kissed my mom on the lips that wasn't my dad. I was like, hey, that guy's kissing everybody in the lips as he walks in. It seems weird.
Those are weird dudes. I mean, I've been kissed on the lips. I've gotten the full,
really?
Old man kiss on the lips. Not
in the last.
It's awkward. It's awkward.
Last decade, though, at least.
I mean, it's been a while, sure, but no, it's certainly as an adult. I'm like, oh, that was weird, but we'll pretend that's your culture, old weirdo.
Well, I'm in a weird mood. I keep wanting to go off on tangents, but let me get back to, I do want to know your Super Bowl. What is it like to be invited to your Super Bowl party? Could you take us inside of it?
I told you about the food and the alcohol. What else do you want to know?
I mean, do people watch the game? Do they chit chat? Are you really into it? Do you watch the game?
I like hosting. So I know that there are going to be people there that want to watch the game. So I make sure that there is an area where you can just sit and watch the game and no one's going to be bothering you. Mm-hmm. I make sure there's an area that's I usually, just sort of arrange things in the way that I can so that a group of people can cluster outside of sort of the view of the game. Maybe they can still see it, but they can be the talking group who are not necessarily on top of the people who are the watching group. And then there's usually the we don't give a fuck. We're just here to drink and eat and gossip and call us in for the commercials group, and they're usually in the kitchen. So it's that kind of a thing. I do kind of like watching, sort of, but I don't feel like I have to really watch the game unless one of my teams are in it. And I don't really have teams anymore, although I kind of do a little because, I'm in Pennsylvania. You can't shake it, but I don't know. Cincinnati and Los Angeles, meh, I'll be fine.
Yeah, weird. I guess I'm not sure how much people care about the teams. I don't know anything about it, but I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna eat some Super Bowl like food. I'm gonna make nachos. I'm really excited about that.
How do you make your nachos? What do you put on nachos? What does that mean to you?
Basically everything. Longtime listeners or regular listeners of the show even know that to eat nachos with me is like a real rough trip for because of the way that I put them into my face without, and I have a beard, and so there's all the toppings. It's rough. It's like a mountain lion going down on a fresh kill.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is disturbing.
Yeah.
And
it's hard to sit there and look at me and talk to me because I'll talk while I'm doing it.
So you are at a Super Bowl party, intently watching the game, annoyed that anyone's talking to you while massaging a woman's neck and shoving nachos in your mouth in a way that makes you look like some sort of serial killer.
Might not even been using my hands at that point.
That's
getting in there.
You're a one-man party, frankly.
Yes.
I mean, like, I don't know why anything would not involve you, because this sounds great. This sounds perfect.
So what about the other big thing that's today on Monday when we always air this conversation, which is it's Valentine's Day. It's February 14th. My daughter went to the mall to get her boyfriend some Valentine's-y things. And
what do teenagers get each other for Valentine's Day today?
I don't know, but they have a lot of fun around that.
That's fun.
And then there's those who don't have a Valentine that they're expecting. What are your thoughts around the holiday in general? Has anybody ever given you something to be really happy about on that day? Do you look forward to it in any kind of way?
I have long had a fairly anti-Valentine's Day stance because I've always kind of felt like you shouldn't need a day to tell me that you love me. Like, if you are someone that I'm in a relationship with, you should be expressing that to me regularly. And I've generally been with people who were and who were very loving and caring and kind. So Valentine's Day to me was sort of like, it was like a commercial. Valentine's Day to me was kind of like if you said, well, St. Patrick's Day is the one day of the year that you drink. Like, no, you drink all year. Come on.
Yeah,
like, no, you put in your time. You do your shots at other moments. You don't need this particular amateur's night.
It might be
drinking.
the only day you drink like out in public and stand in front of a bar and get in a fight or go to a parade or something. It might be that one day.
Well, that's on you. You should be racking that up throughout the year. You know, gotta have goals, and like you should be
hooligan
committing yourself to the things that you care about.
Right.
And so, I've always kind of felt that way with Valentine's Day. And so I've never had like a grand Valentine's Day, but I've never really wanted one. But in the past, what I've really appreciated is that even while expressing that, for the most part, people I had been with, especially I will say my ex-husband, who's a real swell guy, would still like get me, something like some bamboo or, some flowers or, just like a little note or something thoughtful and sweet. And that was always nice. It was nice to have an excuse, and to do the same in kind was nice. Yeah. But that's about it.
Why would he get you bamboo?
Oh, because I like it. Because it was just something that grows that is hard to kill, which is like really key for me. Yeah, because I will try to kill it.
All right. Well, I just think that it was always obvious to me that was the day that you're supposed to try harder or something. And I didn't like that. I was like, let me do that the rest of the year, as you said. But I also, on the other side of it, I do like the idea that there's a holiday around kind of love, and it could be anything you want it to be. And there's maybe an outpouring more of that on that day than others. And maybe it is a little phony, and maybe that's not great, but maybe it's also good. I'm okay. I like this love holiday, or I want to do it all year.
I have kind of so I used to be really, like I was against Valentine's Day. Like I had that kind of a posture, and now I feel much more like an old lady. Like, it's nice. It's nice that people are nice to each other and love each other and say sweet things. Like, I have a much more of that sort of attitude. I agree. Like, why not? Like, give someone a cookie. I don't know. Just take a moment and be kind.
Do you think there's more pressure on couples, committed relationships or whatever they are these days, to have sexual relations on that day of any sort? Like, it is, it is. Because I think it'd be more like, no, it's no different than any other day. It's a Monday night. Really?
That's a weird one. I feel like if you're like having Valentine's Day sex, I mean, like, good for you, I guess, but I probably am not super excited about the rest of your sex life. That's probably like, you probably have different standards for what you want your sex life to be than I have for myself, I guess, is really, which is fine. Because there are plenty of people out there saying, if you're not peeing on your partner every day, I don't even want to be involved. Like, there are other people beyond where I am, certainly. So.
Sure. Yeah, that's enough about some of the things I thought we were not talking about on the air while recording. Thought those were more private conversations that I was having.
I feel like the world should know these things.
Crossing a lot of lines. So what about just the fun of it all? Is there anything that you like around it? Why can't I have those chocolates all the time in a regular package? without a giant cardboard?
You know that? Do you know that you can? They sell them. They sell them in like a square package all the time.
Shut
You
up.
can get those all the time, every day of the year.
Really?
Every single one. I mean, it's harder to find them on Christmas because things are closed. But basically, other than that, you can. I need your address. I'm going to send you a random box of chocolates that you're just not expecting.
I don't trust you. I guarantee there's going to be one of them that's not a chocolate.
Oh, why would you think that of me?
I don't know, because you're funny.
I'm so nice, Pete. I can't believe you would place these terrible expectations.
See, the box has clearly been open. That would be
of course it'd be open. I mean, there'll be a bite taken out of every single one.
That's what I was thinking. Picture of you with a thumbs up.
This one's really good.
Do you like any of the Valentine's Day treats around it? Are you a strawberry?
I love them. I love conversation hearts. Wait, okay, I'm such a dork, Pete. Like, I just come on your show and tell you all the terrible things about me that I just try and like hide from the rest of the world. And
That's
then
why
I'm like,
we love
hello,
you.
world. Let me tell you.
Go ahead.
No, I'm a super dork. I have a ton of like dumb fortune telling traditions that I've created in my life for various reasons. Like on New Year's Day, the first full song that I hear on the radio or out in the world, I have to hear it from start to finish, and I can't have chosen to put it on, is my song for the year and is somehow like my like fortune for the year.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, no, I've been doing this since I
didn't
was
know any of this about you. It's so interesting that we've been talking for so long and gotten into just about everything, and I didn't. Go ahead. It's
because I have so many weird things, Pete. There's there's just canyons to fill.
Makes you infinitely interesting and a great regular guest. Not that I'm peeling back the curtain, but if you have, yes, that's why we love you. Go ahead, give me some of this weird.
So conversation hearts. That's the deal. The first conversation heart you get out, that is your like love fortune. It's like you're cracking open the fortune cookie.
I'm sorry. When you open a box of conversation hearts or a bag of them, the first one you pull out.
Yeah, as long as you're not looking at it, you have to sort of, not be like choosing, but whichever one you pull out is the one that is giving insight into your romantic circumstance.
Do you generally give it a positive interpretation, negative, indifferent?
I mean, look, it's the magic 8-ball of candies here. They can go any way. Like, you can get love you, and you can get maybe later. Like there's a lot of places that the conversation heart can go.
Yeah, I'm looking at them right now. You rock.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, maybe you're going to play a gig on Valentine's Day. I'm not sure.
True love.
Maybe you're gonna watch Princess Bride.
Ooh, cutie pie.
Maybe you're gonna eat a pie.
Let's have sex at 4.
That's interesting. What a specific time.
I would think.
I don't know why they put the time on there.
I don't know, but how are you going to interpret that the rest of the year? Also, that's going to really hang over your head. AM
in April, maybe. Like I'll find a way.
How do you feel about, I saw yesterday in the grocery store, chocolate covered strawberries everywhere. Let's say a guy, you'd been with him for maybe a month or a year or something, and he gave you those. Would you think is that too unoriginal? Is it nice? Are you happy that they're here? These strawberry covered hearts. He didn't make them, by the way. Because I saw him at the grocery store.
I'm trying to think, what would I say like that's too unoriginal? Like maybe a shoebox Valentine's Day card would be like, what are you doing? But basically anything else, I'd just be like, that's nice. Like
you're fine with it.
Covered strawberries are nice.
Yeah.
Roses are beautiful.
There were aisles of them at the grocery store. Also albino strawberries, like white strawberries I'd not seen.
Oh, yeah, I've been seeing those lately. I don't know what that is. I feel like a power plant incident happened and they just like aren't telling us about it. And then they're just like, no, they're special strawberries, like something like that. By
the way, I do think we just put a lot of nuance into Valentine's Day, and it's kind of like what social media takes away from it. And you might settle on that for a moment or part of your day. Like it can be what it is. Obviously, it's a capitalist dream, and it's created by, but it's also all the stuff that we just discussed. So I just wanted to say that was a thoughtful conversation about a thing that gets kind of minimized every year. So
it does, but it's nice. I mean, like if Valentine's Day is just a day where you think about the people you care about most and you say, hey, I really love you, whoever you are, or even I really appreciate you, or you're really cool. Like that's nice. That's a good thing to have.
I like it. I'm going to write something on Facebook about Valentine's Day based on this conversation, or maybe I'll just post this interview because I don't have time. Okay, so so there's obviously a lot more to discuss, and I want to just mention real quick that last week we had a conversation with you about suicide, and I just wanted to mention on the air to you that so many people really appreciated that. So if you hadn't listened to that, go back to last week's episode, and I just wanted to say thank you for that. And also, people loved being introduced to your partner on your new podcast. And how's that going? After week one, you guys have oh my God, I can't find the name of your podcast, the book club.
My so-called book club. Yeah, we have 2 episodes out, although the second episode doesn't sound great from an audio engineering standpoint, but it is still really fun. And we're about to record our 3rd. So we're plugging along. We're doing the things. It's almost like it's real. So it's fun. It's super fun. Let
me know if you guys need any help. I've got a lot of resources here in the shed.
We'd love to come by the shed. Your weird purple murder shed.
No, I wasn't invited. I didn't mean you guys should come over here to the shed. I'll take a look under your podcast. I meant
Here's the thing. I know you didn't, but I'm just going to interpret it that way. Like I said, give me your address, Pete. No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just
why don't
you
guys?
It's not a big deal.
Why don't you 2 ladies bring your podcast over to mine in my shed, and the 3 of us who can probably not fit in it, it'll be awesome. That is one of the things, by the way, I'd never wanted to have anybody in the shed because of COVID. It's such a tiny space. Even if a friend did come over, I've barely been in here with anybody else, which is partly why I love it. Okay, so maybe the last thing that I want to talk about with you is just about current events. We always talk about the stuff. But I kind of wanted to mention to you something before, which is, so I think, as you know, last week I took a few days off.
Yeah, I'm proud of you.
Thank you. And it was exactly what it's supposed to be, but it gave me the space to think about the personal things that were really becoming problematic that I wasn't thinking about as much because I was working so much. So I gave myself the space and I focused on that stuff. And I listened to a lot of music while driving to and from both the ski mountains that I went to on Thursday and Friday. And I just feel so much more recharged. And I wanted to ask you if there's a thing that works for you and just the idea of time off. I know you earlier this year, you took a vacation on your own, which is wonderful, but it worked. And I just want to remind people that it always works. And yet we keep forgetting, including me, mainly me.
Yeah, it matters. It's a big thing. Music is huge for me. Getting away is big. Both those things combined is fantastic. But also just if you can't actually go anywhere, just carving out space for yourself is big, which I have not been doing. I keep thinking I need to join the Y and go swimming and just spend some sort of meditative time where it's just me alone, focused on whatever I'm focusing on that's helpful. It matters. It does make a difference, but it's hard to get yourself to do, as you know, because it took you how long to do this?
Well, to take full days off, I think what you're saying is something a little bit different, which is I have an issue with that as well, but a really important point. I do try to take it down though. At some point during every day, I lie down and close my eyes, and sometimes I take a nap, but sometimes I don't. But it's just the whole time I sit there and I go, I run through all the things that I have to do. And they racing through my head, all these responsibilities, including a really urgent email that I forgot to send. And I still don't get up. I'm like, that's why I'm lying here. So I can do all those things better in a little while. That's been really helpful to me.
That is really good. Not everyone has, a shed with a big podcast girls keep out sign on the outside that they can lie down and be uninterrupted in.
Well, that's why I was legitimately fighting for a nap space when I was at SiriusXM.
No, wow, I bet that makes sense.
They put these pods in to get more privacy. I was like, give me a pod, give me a little, a curtain I can draw, and just lie down for 20 minutes in a quiet space. It'd be amazing.
That would be amazing. My guess is they didn't do that.
No, they fired me instead.
Yeah, I was going to say, did the corporation not give in to somehow making
they built the pods.
Oh, okay.
They built the pods. I championed them, got caught masturbating, got fired. That's really what happened.
Into the bean dip. Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, why? Why did you make it so much worse? It's already ruined my life. Did you hear what happened to Pete Dominic? So when I caught back up, there's just one thing I wanted to ask you about, which is at the Thursday night Board of Education meeting I attended in my local. There was a huge contingency, I don't know, 20 or so, maybe more, of parents who were so mad that their kids still had to wear masks. And listen, I get it. I'm totally understand. And I do think it's ridiculous if it's true that like they were having to wear them when they went outside even. But regardless, it's not the board. They can't decide. It's a state law in our case. But how's it going for you and your kids in Pennsylvania? Just on the mask thing, because we're at this point right now where there's still a lot of people dying from COVID. I think it's interesting that people are kind of really forgetting about that just because it's gone down so much. But what's going on with your thoughts on that, your community and your kids?
Yeah, we have the same angry anti-maskers at our board meetings, but it is now up to the school board. They can make that choice now, which is it's a little frustrating and a little bit scary because they're really very, very vocal, and it's difficult because it's hard to know what to pin any changes on. But I think one of the problems that I keep running into are people who have this sort of idea that if we just ignore it, if we just take off the masks, the world will be as they remember it being. And there's this element where you need to recognize and accept that things are changed and they're going to be changed. And you're going to see people wearing masks in places you were not used to seeing that for a long time to come, because our general thoughts and awareness individually on illness and disease and what our own personal risk tolerances are have changed in a lot of cases. And so there's going to be different, people are going to make different considerations and different calculations about how they spend their time and what they do. And that's what our lives are going to be like here for some time. It's not going to be a snap your fingers and you get 2018 back. That's not happening, which is good because that year sucked for me. So I didn't want it back anyway. But like,
well, I think that's really a very thoughtful response to that. But just on the mask thing alone, you made me think that to some extent, at least in my community and probably in a lot, once the masks are gone, it will be considered a triumph for their activism, the anti-maskers. And you know what? I'm fine with it. Let them have the win. I mean, fine. Nobody wanted these masks. The whole thing has been, really not that controversial in a way to me. I haven't felt my freedom being impugned upon, but I don't know. You have young kids. If they're talking about their kids, even some of the kids went up to the microphone and was like, I'm being poisoned by my own carbon dioxide. I was like, oh boy. But
oh my gosh.
Just imagine if you believe that. And if you're a kid, I had a lot of compassion for that boy and the fact that his parents marched him out there and he really
he's being poisoned by his parents' carbon dioxide coming at him with all the shit they're telling him.
That's what I should have gone right up to the microphone and said right to his face, to the boy.
Look, kid. Yeah. Next time you have a chance to dunk on a kid, you don't miss that. You don't
cannot believe that kid was standing there so vulnerable and I did nothing. I said nothing. It wouldn't have surprised me if we had kids going up and they jeered them though, because ours was the town. I don't know if you heard about this. It's kind of pretty big news where they made monkey sounds against not my town, a town next door. When a black basketball player was on the foul line, the opposing school in the audience, they made monkey sounds, and it's been but that's something worse happened in my school, and this is like happening now, and this is why we need diversity, equity, and inclusion to be taught, and to be, cultural diversity to be taught, and all of that, because people aren't behaving this way. It's crazy. It's real.
That's really disgusting and upsetting. And I mean, unfortunately, the worst part is it's not surprising. It's horrifying though.
Well, I will let you go. I really appreciate any opportunity we get to talk to you, kicking off our week. It is the third week of February, Valentine's Day. Maura, thank you very much. Any knowledge, wisdom, or thing that we should leave on? Dog wants to come in.
That's probably it. Let the dogs in.
Dog's coming in the shed. Maura, Quint, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, there she goes, Maura Quint, at Behind Your Back on Twitter. Go say hi to her, listen to her.
podcast that she's co-hosting, my so-called book club, and I always love talking to her. We went all over the place, and that was a lot of fun. All right, well, I'm very excited now to have joining me because I like to get to know the folks who listen to the show each and every day, and year after year more, and many more of you have become like close personal friends of mine as my career in broadcasting stand-up with Pete Dominic has continued into this latest iteration as a daily podcast. And one of those very special people is my guest now, Vicky Body Robinson. And I'm not sure exactly when we met. I mean, she talks a little bit about how she discovered my work during our conversation today, but she's just a wonderful person. She has brought this community when you join us on the Hangouts and on her calls back on the old show. A lot of laughs, a lot of important moments and points, and we just love her for so many different reasons. And I was so excited to get to know her and get to know so many of you, but it always feels weird that I don't get to share your life experience with others. And so in an effort to try to do that more, I'm introducing the Listener Spotlight, which I'll be doing from time to time. I mean, I've done this kind of thing before, but I want to be doing it more to just kind of expand the horizons of this show and kind of help each other out with our own life experiences, how we've dealt with the challenges in life, and also celebrate the triumphs and successes and joys of life, and then get together, everybody, and get crazy, have fun someday at the big festival that I imagine all the time in my head. But now it's time to get to the conversation. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen, Vicky Body Robinson. We talked back in the end of December, and I finally got it edited and ready to go. Very happy and honored to share this conversation with you.
I'm an open book, so whatever it is you want to know, because there's a lot in that story, and I've often thought it should be a screenplay, but I haven't quite worked that out.
Without knowing that, I've always been I've been more fascinated the more I learn about you. Like, I didn't know that much about, like, when I found out that you were, I think to me, one of the most important character qualities in a person, of course, is humor. And when I found out that you were like an assassin, like you were really funny, that was a game changer for me. Before that, I just thought you were a smart and thoughtful person. When I found the humor, I was like, okie doke, where's that from? So let's go into all of it and start at the beginning, and then maybe we have to get to that relationship, I think.
Sure.
But if you don't mind, I think that I want to get to know who you are before you're in that relationship a little bit.
Okay.
So what was your childhood like? Because you're born in Texas and you moved to the Midwest, 2 states, Ohio and Michigan. You must have really been conflicted living in those 2 states that, have a lot of sports rivalries, at least. But the fact is you're born in Texas, moved to the Midwest, and then I think when you get free will as an adult, you run to California. Does that sound about rightish? Is that what happened?
I literally left Ohio 5 days after graduation.
I thought maybe you told me that, but I think that's so. But your childhood, your family life. Tell me about your parents, your siblings, a little bit. Whatever you want to tell me that are important, you think, and most interesting or unique.
Well, so I'm a daddy's girl. So my dad was absolutely everything to me. And growing up, my dad was this Renaissance man, right? So he exposed us to so much from traveling. He took me to New York on my 8th birthday. He would take us to the symphony. He would take us to the opera. We'd walk around museums. And then some Saturdays we'd just get up and he'd just drive around and just look at pastures and foliage and talk about what people do and how hard they work and how fascinating this country is. So, yeah, my dad was absolutely everything to me. And he was so pivotal in my childhood and in my development because he was, number one, brilliant. My dad was just super, super smart. He went to high school when he was 11. He went to high school when he was 11, and he went to college when he was 15. So right before he turned 15.
Where did he grow up?
In Dallas.
Oh.
Yeah.
He was born and raised in Texas, in Dallas?
Born and raised in Dallas.
Okay. So he was a brilliant guy. He was pivotal in your life and a renaissance man. And the way you talked about him, it's like, I feel like I was thinking about how the girls like sleep in every off day. I'm like, I should throw him in the car and go to a new place every day. Like, what am I doing? I love hearing about people's relationships with their dads because I always get ideas. So what about mom?
Mom was at that time stay at home from when I think when we went to Michigan, she worked a little bit. And then when we went to Ohio, because of course everybody's a little older at that point, and then she worked. Mom worked as a domestic. She worked as personal chef. So later on, like probably right before I was graduating high school, she was a personal chef for some folks in Maumee, Ohio.
Some like ritzy, like wealthy family or something at a home?
Yes.
And
yes.
she was their personal chef. Like wow. Is that word domestic? Is that a word you always have used your whole life?
What
does it mean? Like someone who works in a home doing something?
Somebody who works in a home. So a domestic rather than saying a maid. Because she didn't clean. She just did the food.
Okay. I don't think I've ever heard that, really.
But I mean, it's all under that same umbrella. So if somebody's a maid or house cleaner or whatever that is, they just refer to them as domestics.
Oh. So siblings?
Yes. There was 8 of us altogether. My eldest sister, Deborah, was killed in 1989. She was breaking up a fight between friends and jumped into the middle of them. One had a gun and she jumped in between them thinking that he wouldn't dare fire because it was her, and he did. She was 31 at the time. And for a long time, Pete, this is the weirdest thing. I never thought I'd make it to 31. For some reason, I just felt like that was the threshold, that whatever my elder sister did,
right.
That's where it was going to end.
I don't think that's uncommon. I think even like a boy thinks that about his dad. Like, I think we all think we're limited to whatever the people right in front of us have done or would do. It's not that weird, but still horribly, because in this case it's a horrible tragedy. But I also think that's probably fairly common when you live in places where there's that kind of violence more frequently. But was that the case? Did you live in a violent area?
No.
So you were shocked. You were shocked. Like that was like the first kind of shooting you'd ever even like. How old were you in 1989 when Deborah was 31 and was shot and killed?
I was 26, 25, 26.
Where were you when you found that out?
I was in Los Angeles and she lived in Sacramento.
Oh. Followed you out there or you followed her?
We followed Dad to California, and then Dad moved to Georgia, and we stayed in California, and she stayed in Northern California, and I'd moved to Southern California because I saw this cute boy, and I really wanted to get to know him, and I was kind of being like kind of a stalker in a way. Maybe that is like being a stalker. Maybe I have to rethink my life. Hold on a second.
When you say you saw a boy, I mean, did you know this boy? Were you dating him? You met him? You and then followed him to LA, kind of thing.
I met him. Yeah. I met him at a party.
Yeah.
We had a really good time. We exchanged numbers, and he said, "If you're ever in Los Angeles, look me up." And then we talked on the phone for a bit, and then we kind of lost touch. And my cousin knew him, so I was like, "Well, I'll just move to LA."
That's
nothing was happening.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting. When we talked that one night for like 2 hours, and you told me about Northern California, your time there, and your friends, and everything, and gay culture, and I think Northern California or any kind of gay mecca in their heyday, if you will, when it was unique and forbidden and even illegal in places, like those stories are fascinating to me. And my uncle moved out there. He's, I think, in his 80s now, and he's gay and was always gay. And I just think that's a fascinating time and place to talk about. We could probably spend a lot of time talking about your experience there, but you're acting like most men were unavailable or they were not straight. I mean, was it really so hard to meet
Yes.
a straight guy because every gay guy in the world went to San Francisco? I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yes. All my friends were gay. So I'm hanging out and and I'm gonna tell you this. The thing about having gay men as friends,
mm-hmm.
you never in your life have felt more beautiful. They worked so hard at making you appreciate all of the wonderful aspects of you physically. And it was just,
what's an example of that?
Well, girl, you so fierce. Look at your hair. Look at your legs. Girl, your legs are fierce.
But don't straight guys do that? And you just don't, and you think, is it a difference of what they want out of the compliment?
What they want. So a gay guy doesn't want anything from you other than your friendship.
Mm-hmm.
But when they're saying it, it's sincere.
Why is it that I've always felt that's how girls are talking to me? When they compliment me, I'm positive it's just as friends.
Pete, I think you missed some opportunities because your confidence wasn't there. If your confidence had matched up,
yes.
Because
it's everything. You don't
cute.
take a shot. You don't take a shot when you're not confident, or you don't come up. But no, my thing, I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about you. But my thing was for sure that I just was physically late, and I was a small boy, and girls felt really kind of safe thinking that, I couldn't possibly be serious about getting with them or something. I don't know. But that all changed. Yeah. When I developed. And so, but back to you. In that time in your life. And so is that the mid 80s then? Because you moved to Southern California, late 80s?
Right.
And so
I moved to Southern California in 88.
So mid 80s California, San Francisco?
Yes.
What's that like there then? What's the culture? What's the party? What did you do? When you socialized, where were you? Where you have parties, people's houses, apartments? What's that time like? And when you're hanging out with a lot of gay people, is it mostly gay people? And where if at all, does race play a factor?
It's a weird thing. In most times it didn't. Race didn't really play a factor. That it was, we go to different clubs. There was a couple of clubs that we really liked. I would hang out with Michael, and Michael would kind of be on the prowl. But so this is the thing. So let me back up just a little bit. So Michael and I met our first week in California. We both started working for the same company. We were sitting right next to each other, and instantly we were best friends. Michael came from Massillon, Ohio. I just moved from Toledo, Ohio, and it was just, I was fascinated by him, his sense of style, the way he carried himself. And he was super funny and just so much fun and just a lovely, lovely person.
Yeah, I make assumptions again. I really don't. I am completely ignorant to this specific issue in terms of race and sexual orientation in the 80s. I think it's so much different now than it was then, but I have no idea how it was then. So I am kind of interested in how a black woman in San Francisco, and how, were there a lot of gay black people? Were most of the gay men you were hanging out with, were they white? Were they Hispanic? Were they Asian? What? And is that even interesting to talk about? Because maybe it was just a non-issue. And why, if that's the case, was it a non-issue?
It really was kind of a non-issue because they were everything. It was United Nations.
Really? It was like a mass, it was all men. Yeah. Or no, did you hang out with gay women as well?
It's mostly gay men, and there would be a few gay women that would come around, but not as much as the guys. There's more guys than anything else.
So you had then developed maybe a social group, a clique, tribe, a group of people? Was it just...
But this is the thing that's weird about it, Pete, is if we would go dancing and Michael and I would be dancing, and trust me, I am not a good dancer. I promise you, I am not at all. But they would.
But she can sing.
She can sing. But the attention you got was, it was intoxicating. It would be like you would go to a club, a straight club, and you may sit there 90% of the night and maybe get one guy to dance with you. You go into a gay club, everybody's trying to buy you drinks, and I didn't drink at the time, but everybody's trying to buy you drinks, and everybody wants to dance with you.
That explains a lot.
Yeah. And I was then so looking back on those pictures, I used to think I was so fat. And I was like, oh my God, you're clueless.
Oh, even what you're saying is it changed like even your own body image based on how people responded to you?
Yeah.
Or more importantly, maybe it made you feel like more beautiful for more of the right reasons.
I felt beautiful because these guys thought I was beautiful and wanted nothing from me, just to say, and just wanted to be around me.
Right. It's wonderful. It sounds wonderful. But sadly, you lost him, right?
I did last year. He committed suicide.
Right. I wasn't going to say it, but that I feel like I talked to you around that time. You suffered a lot of loss, it seems, in the last couple of years. And obviously throughout your life, when especially tends to happen when you have a big family, unfortunately, but kind of, you talk about your sister. Were there other kind of crucible losses in your life?
Oh, how much time you got?
Folks, the Tommy John underwear is life-changing for several reasons. Vicki, the Tommy John underwear and why it's...
I know, the Tommy John and the bands and the no riding.
Right, no riding. Do you have the copy right in front of you? You're really nailing it. No wedgie. The wedgie-proof guarantee, I think, Vicki, is the Tommy John commitment. So, maybe it's hard because I could talk to you for 3 hours and I'm thinking about what I can get to and stuff. But anything you want to talk about in terms of loss and how it affected you is instrumental. And I think understanding not only who you are, but how folks tend to deal with and maybe your case. And I don't want to make assumptions, but overcome. It's hard to know where a person's in pain. And I've seen your pain just a little bit. And I've seen your joy just, a lot, I think. And more importantly, I think of you as someone who brings me joy. And I wonder how much of that, you feel like you have to put on a happy face or something in terms of your role with me, your friendship with me. So I don't know. I don't know how things affect you. So, whatever you want to say.
Well, I think about this often, that for somebody who's suffered a tremendous amount of loss, and prior to Deborah being killed, my cousin, who was my best friend, was killed in police custody in Los Angeles. And losing her on her 2 days after her 25th birthday was life altering, in that when you're young, you don't really think about your mortality. You don't think that one day you're not going to be here. And then when Trina was killed, it just made me understand how fragile life is. And she left 3 small kids, and trying to recover from that, or knowing that with her kids, we needed to be not the way we felt. So you feel maudlin, you feel like you just want to crawl into a hole and just bury yourself, or get in bed and never wake up. But you understand that there's these 3 kids that are looking to us and going, okay, so what do I do now? And the day of Trina's funeral, we were sitting on my aunt's front porch, and a hearse drove by, and her oldest son said, "There goes mommy." And I just lost it. And I stepped inside and I pulled myself together, And I said, mommy's always going to be with us. No matter what, every time you look in the mirror, you're going to see mommy because he looked exactly like her. Every time you look in the mirror, every time you look at your hands, you'll see mommy because your hands are just like hers. And I said, the only thing you can't do is sing. She can sing really well, and you can't sing at all, buddy. And he just fell out laughing. He just thought that was so funny. And he's like, yes, I can sing. I'm like, no, you can't. And the truth of it is he really couldn't sing. So it was just real. But
what a wonderful thing to do. It's very hard to do that. Very hard to do that. I give you a lot of credit. I give people credit when they say the right thing at the right time, especially to a child. But it's rare that someone can take that moment and turn it and make it the joke and bring both a poignant message, so thoughtful what you said, and then make it funny. And the funniest part to me was when you just said, no, you can't. You can't. Can't sing. You have a lot of other things that are just like mom, and because of mom, she could sing and you can't.
That's true.
How come you can sing so well?
Oh, we started singing. So one of the jobs my dad had, he started preaching when he was very young, like 17, 18. And we sang with him. So dad would play and we would sing. And so we were kind of his opening act, if you will, when he would go preach. So it would be myself, my sister Deborah, and my brother Thomas. And he'd have us sing, and he called us the Bodyettes.
Your surname is Body, and he called you the Bodyettes?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So it's ladies and gentlemen, here are the Bodyettes.
All right. And how many people how many Bodyettes were there?
There were only, at that time, there was 5 of us, but the other 2 were little. So Deborah, Thomas, and I would sing. And we were, I don't know when we started singing harmony. We started singing harmony, I don't know, as far as I can remember, from probably 2 or 3 years old. We just learned how to pick up the harmonies, and Dad would play, and we'd sing, 2 or 3 songs. And then the other funny thing is that people would always give us money. So afterwards, they'd walk up and go, oh, I just enjoyed you, or your song really blessed my heart. And they give you a dime.
A dime?
Or a quarter.
God damn.
Well, I mean, it's the 60s.
A dime?
It's the 60s. It's like 60, 65,
I know,
66,
but dime,
around there.
Dime is a hilarious word now. Like, back then, like, we did breakdancing, and people, they would throw a few coins in a jar. I feel like it was like the idea that someone would give you any money for such a thing. It really dignified you.
It was fun.
Yeah, sure. That's great. That's amazing. I love it. And you always sang, and you sang in church, and you still sing in a choir.
Yes.
So you talked about your cousin and your sister, and we can talk about more of the loss, but I think, and that would be important and interesting to kind of understand you, but I think I'd love to ask you kind of how it's all affected you and how your kind of worldview and coping mechanisms and your philosophy on life. It's the thing I really don't know about you and the thing I want to know most about you.
So part of the way I think about things is just finding the joy or never letting go of the joy, because life can constantly beat you up and constantly batter you around. And we have to make choices of the kind of person we want to be and what we want to share with the world. If I allowed every single horrific thing that has happened to me in my life, I'd never get out of bed. I'd have to find not just the reason, but understanding that if I can make it through something and then I can share that with somebody, or what we call in the church your testimony, that if I can share that with somebody, I can let somebody else know you can make it through this. That you can have the darkest moments of your life, from being molested by your grandfather, from being raped by a family friend, from all of these things that happen. I really do believe things happen for a reason, and that when they do happen, we need to be able to share that and let people know that, all hope is not lost. It doesn't have to be doom and gloom, that you can make it through it. And if somebody like me can just kind of go, well, all right, well, this happened. So, I mean, and it's not like it's Pollyannish in the way I view it. It's just that I can't let all of those things that happen to me completely define who I am, to take away the things that I really like about myself, the things that I really think make me shine. And that's my personality. I've always had this personality from when I was 5 or 6, or maybe even younger. I was performing for my friends and for the neighbors, and writing. But I'm gonna tell you something hilarious about the Black church. So I'm writing these horror stories because I loved Vincent Price and the Late Late Show.
Yeah.
So I was writing just all this scary stuff.
Wow.
And my dad said, "You got to stop writing this stuff." Yeah, he made me stop.
That's interesting.
He made me stop because he said, there's something wrong. He's like, there's something wrong with the way you're thinking about this. I need you to think about it in a different way. And I'm like, well, Daddy, it's just make believe. He's like, no, he said, I want you to channel it into something else. Like, can you write like happy stories? Can you write something that, I mean, because it wasn't murderous and stuff, but it was always, some ghosts or somebody scaring somebody, something like that. Yeah. But no, they didn't like that.
My brother wrote, I think a lot of people, my brother wrote fiction like that. I think a lot of people probably do it, and it's pretty common. But I mean, the idea that you're writing it all, I suppose, and being creative at all is the most important thing. But he's probably concerned, like, love that you're being creative. Is there any way you could write about rainbows?
There you go. Remember that sky you saw last week? Wasn't that beautiful?
Yeah, that's not interesting. I need an antagonist, Pop.
Right.
Oh man, you said a lot of stuff. You revealed some things there that I wasn't sure. You had actually told me about the issues in terms of rape, and you said your grandfather did, and I wasn't going to ask you about that, but you mentioned it, and so you've dealt with, you've seen every part of life. I mean, all of it, all the ugly things you've seen, you've experienced them intimately and personally, and so it sometimes feels, for me, and maybe other people, almost intimidating in a way, like, to complain about their problems. What do you think about that? Not personally, not only with you, but with anybody who's really been, overcome the kinds of things that you've overcome, and then ended up where you've ended up in life, and with all of these coping mechanisms and the philosophy you settle upon, you look at someone else and say, "Really, really? That's you crying about that?" I mean, is that
No, I kind of look at it differently, because we all have our backs are strong enough to carry our load, right? And so for some, like, for example, my grandfather molested my uncles too. My dad talked about this, but my grandfather molested his sons, and my uncle drank himself to death behind it.
as a result of
not being able to deal with it.
As a result of his sexual assault that he suffered, he, like many, succumbed to the demons and gave up. Or forgive my phrase of giving up. He turned to, in this case, drinking. He tried to escape, and I think people know what I'm saying. When you are, I just don't want to blame anybody for whatever, including drinking or alcohol or addiction. Like who what are we supposed to do?
Well, I don't think he found peace. He was able to reconcile what had happened to him. My dad turned to God. My other uncle kind of turned to the streets for a little bit, and then he went to the military. He became and when he left the military, he was a principal of high school in Dallas. But only the one uncle was the one who just could.
It's a fascinating story, isn't it, Vicky? Like the idea that 3 boys were all victimized by their father. One goes one way, one goes another way, and another goes a completely different way. It's really interesting and important to think about how people experience things, I suppose. Wow. And then what happened? Do you want to talk at all about what happened to you? Do you talk about it? Is it empowering? Is it helpful? Or is it painful? And
No. I actually got to a place a few years ago with some therapy and a little vodka. I actually got to a place a few years ago and it was actually when Dad was saying something about forgiveness. And he was just talking about how hurt people. And just all of a sudden, it just made sense to me that this man was fighting demons of his own. That, can you imagine what horrors had to be put upon a man that he would be okay with not just molesting his sons, but molesting his grandchildren? Because it wasn't just me.
Right.
And at that point, I really began to weep for him because it really felt like he didn't have a happy life.
Right.
And so how do you determine whether your life is going to be happy or your life is going to be... And I'm not saying woe is me and he probably should have, or he probably could have had a woe is me part in his life. But I just think something really, really horrible had to happen to him for him to be okay with that. And that just breaks my heart. And it broke my heart for him. And that's when I was able to forgive him.
That sounds like an extraordinary amount or type of compassion. Compassion. Do you have thoughts about that word or that idea? Compassion?
No, what does that mean?
It's like you can see...
I'm just kidding. What compassion means.
That really made me uncomfortable. I was like, the fuck? She knows what compassion... Like, I'm positive she has a thoughtful answer.
I thought she was smart.
I was 100% sure you had thoughts about that, and you were like, no, what does it mean? I was like, I don't...
My bad. So, yes.
That was unkind what you did to me. And it's going to make it, and it's going to make it to the show, and other people will laugh, but I won't.
I'm so sorry. So, yes, Peter, we can go there. Wait, let me fix it. Yes, PJ, I feel compassion for it.
Well, no, but I think it's important. You're kind of making fun of the idea, and I think that it's extraordinary and it's healing. And I've just had a lot of struggle with that, and I've listened to a lot of podcasts, and I meditate, and I use that word, and I'm supposed to think about people I hate and all this shit, and it hasn't worked for me a lot of times. Like, I have a hard time with compassion. I do, and I think
really,
yeah, I do. I think this has become therapy for me. Sometimes I do. I can't let it go. And you know what's weird, Vicky? And what I'm learning, it's like, I can't let go of things that I can't let go of things that other people do to other people. Like, I don't want to say on the record, but I know a person, I'll tell you off air because it's super personal, but I know a person who did a horrible thing to another person in my family, okay? Extended family. And that the victim of the thing has forgiven him, and now I haven't. Like, that's not okay. Intellectually, I know that's not okay, but emotionally, I can't. I have a heart. That's where I struggle. I do. I struggle with that. I sometimes hold on to it too much. I think it's poison. I know
it is poison. It is poison. And I just can't. It's like the other night when we were on the Zoom a couple weeks ago, and people were saying about 45, and you're like, and you said, "Oh, look, Vicky's uncomfortable with that." It's because I just don't see how that helps me. And I think there was something that a poet said one time about how does that make us free? And just even hypothesizing about something bad happening to 45, how does that benefit me?
Oh,
in what way?
I'm glad you mentioned the context because, there was a conversation about something, the disgraced former president dying somehow or something. You, I feel like the way you said it, I was like, God, I'm a shitty person. But the point I was making was actually a good one, which was, goody two shoes over here is uncomfortable, us wishing death on people we hate. And because like there's like kind of everything that we're talking about who you are, all the ingredients that make you is kind of the lesson here. It's like you're making, with everything that you've talked about, you've developed a kind of sense of compassion for people who've directly done things to you. And I'm over here not allowing for any forgiveness and even wishing harm or sadness or bad things upon him. And I think that was the point, and that's why in a certain kind of way you and a few others are the moral anchors of the community that we've created. It's like, fuck this fucking over here, I got to deal with this now. I'm over here pissed about this, and this person, shit. Like, it's like, you're wrong. So, you've been caught red-handed.
Well, I don't want to be, I don't want to sound or be judgmental. I just don't like to think about, I try to keep the negative away, because the negative that is inevitable, the negative that is out of my control is going to happen anyway. So why invite a new negative? It makes sense?
Yeah, it does.
So why eat that kind of garbage, which, it's not fulfilling, it's not edifying in any way for me. I won't feel better about it tomorrow. So why eat that?
Why isn't it? Why isn't it edifying to you to think that bad things will happen to bad people, or want bad things to happen to bad people? Why isn't that edifying to you, given the bad things that have happened to you in your life?
So it won't cancel out the stuff that had happened to me. Those things that have happened to me happened. Those things that will continue to happen will happen. I don't know if I text you this when my Aunt Vestana passed away.
When your aunt, who was like 115, passed away? Is that what you're talking about?
108. She was
108 years old. She passed away this year.
She passed away this year. And when she passed away, she was in the same funeral home with my aunt on my mother's side that had just passed away. And I just sat in that for a few minutes just thinking, oh my God, this has got to be the weirdest thing in the world that I have two aunts from both sides of the family in the same funeral home at the same time in Dallas.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It was, I don't know. I just really kind of felt like the universe is just laughing at how much absolute shit can be dumped on me without me cracking like, Let's see if she can handle this.
Should be some kind of horrible game show where we watch a person just suffer at malady after malady and just keep getting back up like Rocky or something. Just keep getting pounded to the ground. You're like eating more popcorn, watching them. It is, yeah, that's why I feel like I don't love the phrase, I know you're very religious, but like, oh, God's never going to I feel like you even said that earlier. God's never going to give you anything more than you can handle. I want to be like, what? I couldn't handle losing my job. Like, I couldn't handle it. I had to learn.
You did handle it.
Eventually, yeah, but it broke me. I mean, it was, I lost my job, and then my dad had a heart attack, and then he lost his eye, basically. And I fell to my knees. I was like, that's it. I literally, Vicky, I think I must have been like that. I'm good. I'm out. Now, flag down. There's a flag down. Send out a stretcher. There's no way I can do this. I can't continue on. I can't work. I can't succeed. Like I need some time. Can I get some time? Is anybody going to help? Is anybody coming?
Yeah, but it didn't break you. It bent you. You were bent.
I don't know what the difference is, I guess.
You're bent, not broken. So sometimes things are broken beyond repair.
Mm-hmm.
And I think of every obstacle as a that it either makes you stronger or you succumb to being weaker. And I just refuse to just succumb to being weaker. That I have ancestors, PJ, that went through enslavement. I have ancestors who were enslaved people for however many years they were enslaved, but still believed that one day it was going to get better and kept believing one day it's going to get better. And then I sit in my house with 5 TVs and stereos and iPods and iPads and laptops and 3 BMWs outside and a Cadillac outside and 4 box trucks and all of these things, and want to go, woe is me?
A lot of people listening will have the same question I do about why you have so many vehicles. Are you what kind of a racket?
It's not a racket.
Box trucks.
Box trucks. My husband has box trucks for his work.
Okay. I just feel like a little context was you can't just be like,
I'm sorry.
We have we have 17 vehicles.
Not quite, but yeah.
No, I understand. And I wonder how much of a story. I suppose it's an individual thing, and I don't want to make assumptions again. But like, your own experiences creates a perspective on your life, but so does the experience of people like you. And when you, who look like you, or where you, traveled in a similar vessel, gender, sexual orientation, or ethnicity, or whatever, socioeconomics, whatever. And I think that it's kind of like, I feel like Jewish people have this and Black people have this. I don't really have this, but I'm like, never do I be like, the men of a previous generation had to overcome, and so can I. Like, I've never done that. That's not a thing. And I think it's probably particular and unique to people, but like the idea that you have your own stuff, your own experiences in life, and then you're now thinking about, in terms of perspective, how other people in previous generations, certainly in this country, how they overcome things, which is what it sounds like you're saying. Like, I guess what you're saying is you draw strength and perspective from that, and that makes it somehow easier to navigate the shitstorm that's being thrown upon you. Is that what you're saying?
It does, because in my mind, it's how dare I complain?
Oh.
How dare I sit here where I am with the life that I lead? I have air conditioning. I have heat when I want it. I can jump on a plane anytime I want to. There are these
What about your
privilege-
freedoms? What about your freedoms being stripped from you in terms of forcing you to have to wear a mask in a retail outlet?
Well, let me tell you, I've been cold free. I haven't had a sinus infection.
Is it weird? Is it
It's
weird?
fabulous.
Is it weird to hear people complain about their freedoms being trampled upon and stuff like that when you're a woman, much less a black woman?
No, I don't listen to them. I tune them out.
Okay. No, I don't.
I tune them out. I tune them out, Pete, because
it doesn't do you any good.
Go away with that, go away with that noise. It's
Right.
just noise. It's just noise.
Do you? Well, how about how much of like then why did you ever discover like my show? Not, and don't say anything about me, like my content. Like if you tune out nonsense in the news and kind of in the world because it's making it sound like it's healthy for you mentally and emotionally, which is a good choice. Like, why do you ever pay attention to any of what's happening in the world the way that you seemingly do?
Well, part of it is something that I got from my dad was the level of curiosity, the curiosity about everything that goes on in the world. And when you were on Karen Hunter right before she did White in America, you came on with John Fugelsang. She immediately talked about how good looking John Fugelsang was.
Mm.
And she said how funny you were.
That's so hurtful. Like that was lost on me.
No, Pete. But this is the thing. That conversation with the three of you is what drew me to you. I was like, oh my God, he's funny. He's smart. And he's got an interesting perspective. And I want to hear more. So I just wanted to hear more. So I started listening to you in the morning on my drive into work, listening to you while I'm sitting in the hospital with appointments with my dad, just listening to you. And the more I heard you, the more I liked you. And then I start calling your show.
That's right.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I love our origin story. That's for sure. It never gets old.
But hold on. I have a question for you, though.
Oh.
So on that show, John Fugelsang said the N-word a couple times.
Ooh.
Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
Because I was just curious at how you reacted to it because you didn't say anything. And then
I haven't used it probably since before then, and I only used it, I think, like on stage doing comedy after a black comic who I love said it like 40,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
And I went on and said it because I was so put off by it. And I went on and said it, and I was like, see how much different it is coming out of my mouth? But that was probably like 2005, I suppose. I think that's the last time I ever really uttered the word. But regardless, I say it in the shed all day long, so I get it out of I'm just not near microphones when they're recording, and I think that was dumb of him.
You just keep it on the DL.
I mean, no one's here.
Right.
This comedian
Except the
Todd
dog.
Lynn.
Indy's going to tell me.
Oh, Indy's a racist. That's why I say it. So anyway, let me get back to you. Your question. Did you answer your question?
No, you didn't answer my question. I was trying to find out how you felt when he said it, but you don't remember it. So.
Well, I know how I don't like the word when anybody says it at all. When my daughters listen to a lot of artists who say it, and I hate it, and we fight about it. And I tell them you can't. I immediately tell them to turn it off, and then I give them a long lecture about it, and I just don't like it. So I get it that it's a black artist saying it, but I'm not talking about what's that country guy's name is. Yelled the word, but I don't like it when anybody says it, and I've argued I'm one of those people who agrees with the black people who say we really shouldn't say it, versus one of those people who agrees with black people who say we can own it. Like I just hate it. I hate it. I haven't been convinced otherwise by
Me either.
anybody who I respect. And the only person like that I'm even like somehow allow for is when Dave Chappelle says it or some comedians say it. But I still just wish they wouldn't, I think.
I agree.
But that's, not for me to. But anyway, that you're asking me about how I made it feel. I'm telling you how I feel. I don't like it. I don't like it when it's kids on the subway. And I don't like it when my wife uses it constantly.
You will not denigrate Val.
I've never heard her say the word. My wife, God, I feel horrible for the joke. I've never.
Tell Val I stood up for her.
She'll hear it. I'm going to leave it in. No, like nobody says it in my family. I said it when I was a little boy. My brother punched me, and that was that. It really was.
I love your brother. I love your brother. When are you going to do an interview with him?
Whenever he wants. He doesn't want to.
No.
He wanted me to delete the first one.
Oh my God, he was so good.
He doesn't. He doesn't love going on the record anymore about things for a lot of different reasons that we could talk about with him. But yeah, no. Like when it's interesting. I don't know. My brother kind of raised me on such values, and so said that word when we were little. It's a longer story. I'll tell you sometime. But I remember feeling a strike to my ribs, and it was the shame that he then put upon me was. That was when we were like when I was 12, and that was the end of it for me. And there wasn't anything after that. That was it. That was done.
Is he much bigger? Is he much bigger than you?
No, he's never been bigger. Well, when we were little, he was a little bit, but he's not now. Why do you say that?
I'm just wondering if he's taller.
No, he's shorter than me and weaker. But he doesn't.
Because you're an Adonis. But you are an Adonis.
No, he doesn't. The difference is if we ever got in a fight, he doesn't seem to feel physical pain, so he would win because I would be done. Like with one, I feel he's tough dude, my brother, and more importantly, he's my moral compass is what's important, I guess, to our conversation. Always has been. He's always checked me, and that's why I've never been able to. He doesn't like that I'm doing ads on the show at all. He's given me a lot about that, and try to argue. Like he's always in my ear telling me what he disapproves of, without ever holding back, and I'm forced to consider it. So.
I love that.
Yeah, it's good. It's great to have someone like that in your life, I think, that you trust and that you value and that you respect, and especially if it's a sibling or someone that you really lives their life true also by their values. That's the other thing about him, which is annoying.
Yeah, well, you need somebody that's going to tell you the truth and not just continue to kiss the ring.
Oh, yeah. I seem to have a lot of people...
Although I do have an ad for Kiss the Ring. Kiss the Ring,
folks. Let me take a break for Kiss the Ring. Kiss the Ring is a new way for you to compliment me. Can I it's been an hour, and I want to just ask you one more, I could talk to you for 10 more hours. But I do want to come back to one thing.
Okay.
The relationship, the marriage. Tell me, we could talk about relationship history, I suppose only about the people that you're not your current husband, because we don't want to violate anybody's current privacy or anything, but so maybe you don't even want to talk about this guy, but I just think that must be an interesting story and a unique, a relationship with someone. Can you talk about that at all? Do you feel comfortable, or is that violating his privacy?
So it was a rebellious, a rebellious reaction to my parents saying that they didn't like him.
Oh, so common. Hear that a lot.
It's the dumbest thing. It was the dumbest thing. It was like, I like this guy. And then when my parents met him and they said, oh my God, he's just not right for you. And then I said, I love him now.
Right.
And I really felt that way. I really felt like, well, you just don't know him like I know him. And it was a mistake that I kept holding out hope that the tides would turn and things were going to get better, and they just didn't. And then when he got shot, I felt stuck. I felt like I would be a horrible person to leave him now, because the night he got shot, and this is the honest to God's truth, Pete, the night he got shot, I'm making my plan to leave. And I'm just figuring out, all the things stuff that I was going to do, letting the landlord know, yeah, we're leaving, or I'm leaving, and I want my name off the lease, all of these things that I kind of worked out in my mind. And I was going to move in with a cousin. And that morning, about 3 o'clock in the morning, when the police called me and told me that he'd been shot and that he'd been taken to King Hospital and that they didn't think he was going to make it. But he made it through, ended up being paralyzed. He was in surgery for over 9.5 hours. And at that point, I was stuck. What kind of person would I be if I left at that point? So I tried for many years because, on top of all of this, the bonus is that he was a crack addict.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, that was my bonus. So with him being on crack, once he got shot in rehab and coming home, you'd think it'd be better. It'd be okay that he, really was turning his life around. The earthquake happened, moved to Georgia. He came sometime later. He came like a few months later after I bought a house here. And I came home and he was getting high again. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. I just can't take it anymore. You got to go. When I come home from work, I want you gone. And to his credit, he left. He took my jewelry, though, but he did leave.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
God
and what are your parting gifts? So
he's like, fair enough. Let me just. I'll
go. But I'm taking some souvenirs.
Let me get my stuff and some of yours.
Yes.
Oh, God, that's rough.
Yeah.
Well, was that the end of that?
That was the end. Because he actually went back to Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then he died in 2002. He died the same year Martin and I got married.
And now, kids now?
With him?
I didn't talk to you about kids.
No, not with him. No. So if we talk about kids, we got to go back. So when I was 14, I got pregnant, and that child I gave up for adoption. And that's my son, Damon. He and I are really, really close.
You reunited. Wait, you skipped a step.
We reunited. Yes, we reunited. We found each other. So it turns out his adoptive mom's grandmother, yes. His adoptive mom's grandmother was one of the mothers of the church, which are like the elder women in the Black church are the mothers. Mm-hmm. They're called the mothers.
Oh, really?
So the Mother Stevens made the best peach cobbler in the world. My dad swore by it, always talked about how great Mother Stevens' peach cobbler was. Well, nobody knew that Terry, the adopted mother of my son, that was her grandmother. No pieces came together until Damon got sick and he started asking questions about me. He wanted to know who I was and who our family was. And he was just talking to another family member, and they were saying, all we know about her is that her last name is Body. And he just lit up and he was like, oh my God, she used to go to we used to go to the same church. I bet I could find her. And he did. He picked up the phone, called me and said, hey, didn't you have a son you gave up for adoption? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, and he's about 26. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, he wants to talk to you. You want me to give him your number? And I'm crying and happy and jumping up and down and going, of course. So he called me. We talked for about 3.5 hours. I bought a plane ticket, flew up to Ohio. We met, had a wonderful, fun reunion. My husband and I checked into a hotel, and I called him and I said, okay, so give me your mom's address and we'll come by. And he was like, okay. And he's like, where are you? And I said, yeah, we're at, I can't remember the hotel, but it was a Riverfront Hotel. And he said, okay. He said, well, I won't be back home until around 4. So I'll be there around 4. And I'm like, cool. We'll just wait at the hotel and we'll come there. So about 20 minutes later, there's a knock on the door, says room service. And it wasn't room service. It was him.
Oh, wow. He pulled a
awesome.
fast one on you.
It was awesome. It was awesome. He has the same sense of humor. We have so many things.
How old was he? I'm sorry, you may have said this. How old was he when you met him? When you reunited?
26.
And
no, when I met him. Well, I mean, this was me meeting him. I mean, because as a baby, I held him for like a few minutes and then they took him.
That was it. Few minutes, gone. And then you didn't see him again until he was 26.
26.
Which one of these stories are we making the movie? Like, what's...
I don't know.
God, I don't know where to focus our screenplay on, because you have lived the most fascinating life. You've lived 20 lives.
I believe that.
Do you know other people? Do you know anybody like you that's seen what you've seen? Is it in any way relatable to you for other people? Do you know anybody else like you that you've bonded at all, or that you've ever spoken with or read about that has had any kind of similar overlapping with your life and times?
No, just on TV.
Right. Well, guess what?
What?
Now we all know one.
Aw.
Because it's you. Because you're the OG.
I'm the OG. I'm an original.
I mean, you really are. I mean,
I hope. I don't want this for anybody else. I really don't.
Well,
I don't wish this. No. I don't wish this. I don't wish.
You've made that abundantly clear that even for people who did things directly to you, you don't wish them ill. And I think that that's one of the important moral philosophies that I agree with intellectually. But again, as I said earlier, I sometimes come up short on that, but I think that you don't. And that's one of the reasons why you're a great person for me to look up to and try to measure up to on that issue, or that metric. And I think everybody can hear that from our conversation today. And it's kind of, I think this conversation is an important conversation to provide perspective on people's stuff and their life and their times, and it's interesting. We've gotten to know you, those who've hung out with you on the Zooms over the last 2 years, and we don't know any of this stuff. And now it's like, wait, that's the person that's hilarious and really smart? That's that person? Wow. Huh. How'd she arrive there? And now we know, to some extent, to a very small extent.
To some extent, I guess. I mean, I still consider myself, even in spite of all the things I've been through, I still consider myself incredibly blessed.
Why?
I really do.
How do you define, how do you come to that?
I have people that I love and people that love me back. And I can close my eyes every single night with a clear conscience that I don't hold on to ill will. And I try not to let the negativity in. I try to push the negative away as much as possible. And that there's times when it all just seems a bit much. I think we've all had like a level of overload of horrible things happening over the last 3, maybe 5 years, and collectively with the world over the last 2 years. And, we all need a little respite at points. So I watch something mindless and stupid and laugh about it. I don't like the vapid, dumb housewife shows.
Right.
Because I don't have any Black women in my life who I have relationships like that with, and I don't like that as a representation of us. I try to watch something, or I try to look at something that is completely made up, or something that's just fun and funny and creative, and that makes me think of things in different ways. And that's part of why I was attracted to you, because you made me think about things that I'd never considered before. I never considered what plastic did. I never even thought about it. And I buy cases of water, and it wouldn't even be a thought. And it wasn't until listening to you and the conversations with conservationists and those folks that made me really think more deeply about it and want to be a better citizen of this planet. There are many other things, even politically, that I hadn't thought about voting and like with Karen Hunter. If Karen Hunter hadn't opened my eyes to how important being on jury duty was, because it was something my entire life I absolutely avoided. I would, get into that pool and go, oh, well, I got a cousin that's a police officer, so I can't be on this one.
Right.
And now understanding how important it is for all of us to be able to participate in that. And then you continue to inspire me with the work that you're doing with your community. I just absolutely love that about you. And that's why I'm with you, Pete. That's exactly why I continue to listen. That's why every single day, or most days, I listen to the show from start to finish. Because there's always nuggets in there. There's always something I didn't know, or perspective that I hadn't considered, or something that I hadn't thought about.
Well,
And
you're going to hate today's show.
Person. Am I?
Yeah.
It's going to suck. Is it me?
It's you.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
You knew all of this.
I'm so sorry, people.
Can you apologize to everybody for your appearance?
I'm so very sorry. And I will do penance.
Penance. Oh my God, this is wonderful. I imagined what this conversation would be like for a long time. And I just wasn't sure, when I pressed record, how it, what you'd feel comfortable sharing with, or what you would share with, or if I'd be able to get what I wanted to get to. But it far exceeded my expectations, and we are all in your debt to just be in your presence, and to have your perspective and your experience and your positivity has meant just so much to me. It's just the emails, the text messages, or whatever I get from you always seems to come at the right time. And we're so lucky. Thank you so much for your honesty, your vulnerability, your courage, and your infectious personality, and your very sharp, original, and very fun sense of humor, which is really, I just love laughing with you the most, of course.
I love you, Pete. And I just want to say one last thing. I have I
hope it's about one of our sponsors.
Don't get weird. Don't get weird. It's a real quick one. It's seek justice, love mercy, walk humbly. And that's what I say every single morning when I wake up.
Oh, wow. Say it again.
Seek justice, love mercy, walk humbly. Or for my Southern folks, walk humbly.
What is? Oh God, no, I want to unpack all that. I mean, how does that live out? How do you live out that mantra?
Well, you will always want to be just. You always want to be merciful, and you never want to be prideful.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. Okay.
That sucks.
Yeah, that sounds very challenging to me. Okay. P.S. Put the painting of me over here. Do you ever think about like people that have been painted? Or me and the girls with a family, we were in New York on Christmas Eve. There's like all these statues of guys. Who gets a statue and is like, yes, I approve of the statue of me?
Well, what I always think of when I see those statues is how confident is that guy?
Right. How could you have any insecurities if there's a statue? You could be like, you know what? I feel like people don't like me. Motherfucker, you're on a horse with a sword.
I was thinking about the naked dudes.
Oh, those guys. Well, I mean,
those guys have confidence.
Yeah, because they're always.
And they don't need to.
Right. Because they have amazing physique and tiny penises.
Tiny.
And and yet that facial expression seems to say, no one can see this? Who are you kidding? All right, well, this is part one of my conversation with Vicky the Body Robinson. Yep, Jesse stole it from her. Jesse the Body.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Thank you very much. I'm going to press stop and then thank you even more.
Aw, thank you, Pete.
And there she goes, Vicky Body Robinson, everybody. If you want to meet Vicky, you can, because you just got to sign up to join us on Thursday night. She's almost always there and always a good time when she is. I love having her here in our community, and I hope that you take a lot away from that. I know she wanted to share that, her life with you, and I learned so much when she first shared it with me, and as she has over the years, as I have with you over the years. And so I just want to do that with more of you. If you've got interesting life experiences, if you've got expertise on a subject, if you want to come on this podcast, I do it every day. I'm always looking to have thoughtful, interesting people on and have hopefully great conversations with them that can make us all better, happier, more understanding of each other and of life in general. Does that make sense? I hope so. I love you guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow, and we return to the regular format and exciting new announcements soon, I hope, and I am looking forward to hearing from you. John Carroll, take us out.
That's right. You got to rise up. You got to stand up. You got to stare the devil straight in the eye. We got to let him know it's his turn to go. See it clear and all you hear is a lie. So get up off of your butt, down off of your fence. Even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense. And you stand up, stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town. Just stand up, stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down. Oh, you better stand up, stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. She's the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand our ground, and that's stand up, stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up, they had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of a stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. All right, we got to speak up. We got to reach up and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up. You got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well, and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand up, stand up. Got to stand up. Ooh, come on, just stand up. Everybody got to stand up in the darkest hour. Stand up. People got the power. Stand up. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, stand